finding what you're passionate about, because once you're passionate, then your energy goes to it, your focus goes to it. When I was 16, I got hit with we know now it's called chronic fatigue syndrome.
In my community, especially over 40, people see physical decline as a inevitable part of aging.
It could be something that scares you. My parents had diabetes and they died of heart disease at 45, and I don't want to do that, right? Okay, that's a strong enough reason, right? If you have a strong enough reason, then that will help the discipline.
I think there's something really interesting about after 40, because I think that's where you get to the stage where you can no longer rely on youth and just natural energy and good genetics.
I wouldn't wish this type of pain on anyone, even my enemies. A little touchy when I hear this, when I hear people complain about a workout, because especially now, I'm super grateful if I can train.
But I've noticed that when things get hard, health and fitness seems to be the first thing people drop.
The biggest benefit from training is your mental health, right? And I know that's a buzzword, but I'm telling you, that is humongous.
Today we're talking about what it means to stay consistent when life keeps throwing curveballs. Today's guest is a fitness coach, and from the outside, he makes it look easy. But most people don't see what he's had to overcome just to keep showing up. Welcome to Reflections and Realisations. I'm Alvina, and today I'm joined with Scott Neal. Scott is a fitness coach, he's a community builder, and the co-founder of the Hype Club. Scott is someone who has built his life around movement and showing up for others. But what most people don't see is how he's done this whilst fighting with his own body. I'm so glad you're here, Scott.
I'm glad too. This is going to be cool.
Yeah. So welcome to Villa 58. We were talking about what to name the studio. So maybe that's something we can do in future episodes.
I think it's cool. Villa 58 is a cool name for a podcast studio.
I'm glad you approve. So Scott, tell me, before the clients and before the credentials, who was Scott Neal growing up?
Who was Scott Neal growing up? A little boy. I was always short. I was always the short one. I grew up, I'm one of four. I'm the youngest. Usually they say, the youngest has it the easiest. But I just say I learned what to do and what not to do.
Survival.
Exactly. What makes my parents angry and what's acceptable. So, but thankfully, I had that upbringing in New York and Long Island. So yeah, it was nice to have a brother and two sisters, and then, relatively, I guess you could say, big family, especially nowadays, right? And, but I was always brought up with what my siblings did. So siblings always played an instrument, right? It was like, all right, you're 6 years old, 7 years old. Here you go. What instrument? It wasn't, what do we, do you want to play or do you not want to play? And the same thing went with sports. So it was kind of like, all right, you're 6 or 7. Let's try this out. Let's try American football. Let's do basketball. Let's do baseball. And then, and given the fact that my brother's 8 years older than me, it's like, oh, all right, whatever he does, I'm going to do. So that upbringing was pretty cool to have that. And so that kind of, I guess that put me on the path of physical fitness and stuff like that. And especially when it comes to team sports, I love that because, okay, we have one goal. We're gonna work together. So, but yeah, like I said, I was always the short one. So, of course, some name calling, I had to toughen up myself. It wasn't the prettiest, but again, especially from my brother and my dad, it was like, look, bottom line, don't be a wuss. So they toughened me up. So, no matter if it was peer pressure or being made fun of, whatever, I was like, all right, I'm going to hold my own. And I think also that kind of put me in a position where it's like, all right, I'm not physically gifted, right? I'm short and I'm skinny. So how am I going to make up for this? How am I going to make the team? How am I going to push myself? So it's like, I just thought to myself, okay, I have to rely on my effort. I'm just going to outwork whoever it is. And I don't know if that was, again, how much of that percentage is from my parents or my brother, and part of that was just, again, like, just like, all right, I'm up against something.
Because I think that's what I'm trying to understand. Was it your dad and your brother leading you down this path, or were you self-motivated that I'm going to be something and I'm not the strongest, but I'm going to do something that I am really good at? How much do you think was coming from you, and how much was it from your parents and your brother?
Well, I think it was a blessing that, I guess it was pretty much from my mom kind of putting us into something. It was just kind of like, she's very open-minded. So she's like, all right, let's try this. Let's try that. And then kind of I guess she knew like he'll fall into something, right? And, especially if you're not academically gifted, like myself growing up, I think you rely on the sport. So then it's one of those things where I grew a passion for that particular sport, and again, it was just like, since my brother did a lot of those stuff, I guess besides American football, he didn't really do that. I kind of grew the passion for that. It's just that team atmosphere, I think, what really glued me into that, right? Because it's like, I just have to go to bat for someone else. And I know that person will go to bat for me. And I don't know, it's just something that was in me that kind of like kept brewing,
So was it always team sports? Was it always just American football? Or
yeah, pretty much. I mean, basketball, baseball, American football. And later on in like high school, I switched baseball with tennis, but which is more of an individual sport. But again, growing up was all pretty much team sports. And thankfully I had great coaches, because they always preached that, like, you're not bigger than the team. Like, everyone has to do their job in order for it to work, And then it's funny because, again, I don't know if it's because of that, but it kind of grew into where, say we would play American football or basketball on the streets on the weekends, and we would choose, like, okay, we have 12 people, 6-on-6. And I don't care if I get the last pick for the last person. And I kind of like that, like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take Marcos, or I'm going to take Nolan. These are actually real people who are like, that captain doesn't believe in them, but I don't know, something in me, I'm like, I want to make that person better. I'm going to be the underdog, and my team's going to be the underdog, and I want to, like, make that person better, because they're going to take it for granted. Like, but we're going to outwork them. We're going to push the limits. And I think, when it's funny, because I think about like in like second grade and fourth grade, I remember originally someone came from Turkey. And then in fourth grade, someone came from Finland. And I just had this feeling of like a curiosity, like, I'm curious about this person from Turkey. Like, it's kind of cool to understand that person. So I would want to be the first one to be their friend. And I had that feeling of like, hey, I'm bringing you in, like, we're a community, and have them feel welcome. And all these, now that I think about it, all these small things kind of like lead me to my career of like working with people. So it's kind of fun.
And leaving the States as well. You're not there anymore. You're in a place that's so international and so diverse.
Yeah. And again, like, I mean, whether it be from sports to playing the instrument, diversity in terms of the music that I was exposed to. My mom was in the church choir. I played jazz band, but then I listened to hip hop from my brother, all these different things. To then again, wanting to be, expand to, I want to meet people from all different nations, and especially in the UAE, you get that. So,
So that at that stage in school, in your early teens, did you know who you were going to be when you grow up?
No, not at all. Not at all, because like, again, like, maybe I touched on it briefly before, like, I was never academically blessed. And I know some people, like, it's kind of cliche, but I think for me, I just didn't know how to learn, or my way of learning. One, I wasn't passionate about, the things that I was learning. So that's one of the reasons why I couldn't really stay focused. And I didn't know how my brain worked, or like how to use imagery and repeat to myself in my own words to learn something, to memorize it and things like that. And so, yeah, I just never I didn't really excel, or really didn't think to myself, oh, wow, actually, I'm not dumb. I know how to learn. When I got to college, because I didn't know what to do after high school, I'm like, what do I do? Go to a community college like everyone else? No offense. Yeah. What do I do? So I was like, all right, I'm passionate about music. I played saxophone, but now I want to learn the opposite side. I want to go into engineering, recording, stuff like that, and mixing. And then that's kind of when I thought, oh, okay, I just have to be passionate about it, and I have to be really engulfed in that to learn. It's funny because like when I was 16, I'm kind of reverting back to my upbringing. When I was 16, I got hit with we know now it's called chronic fatigue syndrome. So I was doing well. I was starting on my teams, and kind of excelling as as an athlete. And then at 16, I got hit with chronic fatigue syndrome. Again, 21 years ago, we didn't know what it was. And I was always tired and always lightheaded. And it just hit me so hard because, again, I couldn't play sports anymore. So my coaches were very nice. They were like, hey, especially American football, and he was like, listen, whatever it is, when you are ready to come back, even if it's mid-season, you can. And I didn't come back because that lasted 2 years. But, thankfully, I kind of grew out of that. And then again, that whole period was a bit confusing for me because, again, I wasn't academically blessed. Then this hit. I don't know what to do. But thankfully, I was able to find a passion.
This is what I'm hearing, you found something. You're into sports. You've got great coaches. You're doing well. And then you're hit by something that you don't even understand. And I don't think your parents knew at the time what was going on as well.
We would do sleep tests. We would do up to was every test we didn't know. And again, now we know, okay, chronic fatigue syndrome is from a certain virus. But again, maybe at that point it was just not really common knowledge.
So how were you feeling at that time? That you're not able to do the one thing that you love and you're good at?
What hurt me most was the fact that I don't want people thinking that, he just lost his passion. He's just not committed. He just, he was good, but now he just whatever. That would hurt me so much because I was so I want to do it. And I don't want people to, get the wrong idea, right? The misconception of who I really am. I am really passionate. I really want to do this, but this situation, I don't know what's going on, especially when you're 16, it's you get all this pressure from other kids and whatnot. And, even your friends, what are you going to tell your friends, saying because I would try to come back and maybe I do a session and then I'll be wiped for the whole week. Cause I thought, okay, maybe I'll just push it and then it wouldn't work. So it definitely told me to kind of grow up a little bit more. But again, that it kind of put me in a position where I wasn't too positive after some time.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, so that's what you were doing at 16 and today you're a fitness coach. Tell me what happened in between that led you to where you are today.
So I would say it's funny, from 16 to I guess say 16 to 21, in that time, wasn't that positive. I wasn't a big positive person. I got into a lot of trouble. Even though I found my passion, kind of okay, I'm gonna go into music around 18. I still wasn't. I was being a bad boy, And at 21, I got in trouble with the law, and that kind of was the turning point. All right, Scott, you really need to straighten up. And so that's kind of where the mental game kind of was cultivated. That's when I got into like Tony Robbins. I got into Les Brown. I got into a bunch of, I don't want to call it motivational speakers, but kind of basically understanding the brain a little bit and the self-talk and really being like, okay, I can reshape my thinking. It's a tool, and I really need to dive into this if this is what I want to, be going into. Like, I want to now have a new phase. So that was a big turning point. And so right around that period, I was really working on my brain. And then around, I guess, 22, 23, I started running. And I was still in college at that time. It was 5-year college. I went to a 1 year institution for recording, and then a 4-year degree. But nevertheless, then I started using that when I was running. So basically, long story short, my best friend's brother, who I was friends with, he passed away from cystic fibrosis. And at the time, we're like, you know what? We're kind of out of shape right now. Not overweight, but just not in shape. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna run the half marathon. So I kind of was like, okay. As I was running, I didn't use any earbuds. I would just train my brain. I would focus on gratitude. I would focus on repeating the same things in my head to get this stronger, right? And sometimes it was studying. I used to have cards and study, what I was learning in school and whatnot. And I think then I realized, wow, how much energy I feel from training my brain at the same time as doing something physical. And that kind of again, pushed me closer and closer towards fitness. Because once I graduated school, then I went into CrossFit. It's funny because my sister was like, yeah, there's this thing called CrossFit. I'm like, whatever. I'm running half marathons. I kind of see that as a running by. It's not that big deal. But then she surprised me. She's like, oh, I bought you a 1-month membership for CrossFit for your graduation birthday. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll go. And then after that, I was hooked. Just the physical training, while under fatigue and things like that.
And the vibe and the community and
yeah. And it's so funny because it goes back to effort, right? It goes back to what I kind of learned as a kid. Like, all right, I'm the shorter one. I have to outwork someone to get that starting spot, right? And if I just put in that effort, then everything else will fall in place. So it kind of came back when I was doing the CrossFit. And I was like, all right, I trained my brain, I trained physically. Now I combine that when I'm doing these workouts and really, really get focused. And yeah.
It's interesting what you said about education, that you said he wasn't very motivated, he wasn't very academic. Yet, if you look at what you're doing in your spare time, you're reading, you're learning, you're training your own brain, you're curious. So clearly, it's like the system didn't work for you. It's not that he wasn't a good learner. That probably institution and its setup probably really didn't align with how the kind of learner that you are.
Yeah. Look, I mean, my brother's an accountant. One of my sisters is a nurse. The other sister was a hairstylist and stuff like that. So we all have different careers. I don't want to say necessarily the system is broken, but again, I think it really boils down to finding what you're passionate about. Because once you're passionate, then your energy goes to it, your focus goes to it. So, okay, maybe my brother found out that passion, Well, same with me. It took him some time, but one of my sisters that became a nurse, she kind of knew that from high school. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, or at least going into college. So I really think it depends, right? And then also once I knew, I was like, oh, okay, I can learn, and this is how I learn. I like that feeling. So now, in my mid-30s, I like being knowledgeable, right? Especially something that I'm passionate about. It's like, oh, what do I need to learn? Oh, this is interesting. Why? I want to know why now. you know?
Yeah, we're always sharing book recommendations with me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It becomes an addiction, a good addiction to where like you become curious. You like want to know why. And then once you understand, that's kind of cool. Because you never know what the answer would be, you know?
So CrossFit, after CrossFit,
Yeah.
where did you go after that?
During CrossFit, during that time, I had built a recording studio in my place. All my siblings moved out, so I was like, all right, I'm taking this room, building this, you know. So I had that going on. I was a recording artist, mixing music, stuff like that, trying to do as much work as possible. So that was happening for a good amount of time. Then around like 24, I met my wife in Costa Rica. And then that kind of like changed things a little bit, right? Because I was training hard, and at the same time was doing music. And then I had to make a commitment, like, all right, if I'm gonna make this work, you know, I'm gonna move down there. So then in 2014 is like when I decided, like February 2014 is when I decided, okay, I'm gonna move down there. I know that now the music is gonna take the back burner because I'm not gonna have that when I'm there. So that's kind of like when I made that transition into, coaching people. And that's when I was like, okay, I know how to move, right? This is a new career path, but I love working with people. I mean, even in the studio, I need to get the best performance out of you, right? So now let's take that into fitness. How do I get the best performance out of this person, right? Because a lot of it is psychological, a lot of it is emotion, right? Your tick, like the way you tick is different, right? Your button is different. So versus Shabazz, like maybe I can give him a little more of a nudge, right? And then he'll bite on that. You know, other people, all right, how do I do this? How do I shape? Maybe a little smaller, you know, a slighter, softer touch, you know?
So you're always reading people. You're always thinking what works for them and how far you can push them based on their personality and their temperament.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, okay, if you have a goal, right, it's for the good, right? You ultimately want to get to that goal. And so then it's my journey, it's my responsibility to figure out a way, the best way, you know, to get you there, right? And again, a lot of that is, you know, how I speak to you, the tone, right? And that will create a certain emotion within you because you're not going to move yourself, right? You're not going to really push yourself to get to that goal unless something ticks, right? So anyhow, I mean, like going back to 2014, it's funny. I'm in a new country. I started teaching English of all languages, right? Of all things, teaching English plus coaching. And then finally I was like, okay, I was able to transition to full-time, but now I'm coaching in a new language. When I was like, I failed Spanish and I was like, I don't need Spanish. And then I'm in Costa Rica and I was like, all right, how do I learn wrist, elbow, knee, this, body parts? Okay, then how do I say, you know, push with your arms or pull with this or whatever. So that was a challenge. I had to coach in Spanish and get the best out of that person.
But again, I'm learning you're figuring out how to communicate across the board, even when language is a barrier. So
Correct.
Again, individual approach, individual clients, individual like results as well.
Well, they say physiology, right? The way you move your body is 55%, right? Give or take, right? So I take that plus the tone. Let's say that equates to 75%. All right. Even if I mess up on a couple words, which I definitely did, at least they can feel the passion. They can see I'm trying to help them out. I care for their results, right? So then even if there's a language barrier, they're like, okay, yeah, he doesn't really know Spanish, but I kind of like this guy. And I know that he wants the best for me, you know, and he's pretty knowledgeable. So knowledge plus the passion and stuff like that. So I think it goes a long way, you know.
So going back to the psychology of people, as a fitness coach, you must have people who know that they should be working out. And then they contact you and they think that's the answer, get a PT, and that will make us fitter. but then there's a block. They can't go further than that. They can't actually show up. They can't actually be consistent. They can't see it through. Have you worked with people like that?
Of course. I mean, you're talking about consistency, right? And I think consistency has to do with, one, why are you doing it, right? You have to have a big reason why you do it. You're combining the reason why you're doing it plus the discipline, right? And a little bit of knowledge, right? So for example, okay, how do I stay consistent with, my eating habits? Well, why are you doing this? Write down a whole bunch of reasons why you're doing it, right? Because it could be something that scares you. My parents had diabetes and they died of heart disease at 45 and I don't want to do that, right? Okay, that's a strong enough reason, right? If you have a strong enough reason, then that will help the discipline, right? Because then the discipline comes into play where it's like, okay, I'm strapped for time. I need to prepare things, right? You're like, I don't really want to do it. Okay, well, hey, you know what? My dad passed away, from heart disease. All right, we better get on it, But also having that knowledge of like, okay, why is it good to, stay consistent with my meals and whatnot? Oh, because I'm nourishing my body. Okay, yeah, this is doing this to my body. This is, if I eat this is not, helping me. It's actually clogging my arteries. So I think that has a big deal, has some saying to your consistency. And that's across obviously other things as well.
So do you think most people don't know their why? Or have enough?
I think they know the why, but also, well, yes and no. It depends on the person. I can't talk for everyone, but I think it has to be reinforced every day though. Because you slowly, it happens to everyone. Trust me, my ears are closest to my mouth when I speak. So, you slowly slip. And then if you don't catch it, you realize, oh, like I'm all over here. I was here and like, what happened? Then you have that, maybe a breakthrough. You're like, okay, I got to get back into it. Like I lost track. So I think, that's the rehearsal of like your environment, how you speak to yourself. Okay, this is why I'm doing this, You don't have to necessarily say why I'm doing it, but if you rehearse that enough, then it becomes more of your identity. And your identity is the strongest thing, right? It's very hard to go against your identity, right? It has to be constantly cultivated.
So identity, what do you mean by that?
Well, whether we know or not, we have a certain identity with everything that we do, right? I have a certain identity with, my own body, right? I feel, that if I'm not eating right, I'm not sleeping right, I'm not, moving my body in a certain way, and if I can, physically, then I'm doing a disservice for myself. And my identity is I'm a healthy person, right? Maybe I've said it in the past. I don't have to really say it anymore because again, it created my identity. But I do think that happens over time, right? So if you want to create a different identity or different relationship with your body, this has to be that constant rehearsal of like, I am this, I am that, but emotion behind it and then action behind it as well, So if
I identified with being a disciplined person, then what I then have to go over what does that look like? What does a disciplined person do? What do they wear? What do they eat? How do they wake up?
I think so. I think imagery is important, right? So, I mean, if you envision, okay, what would I look like if I'm a disciplined person? What does that look like in all the different areas, right? And I do think that we have gaps. Like I have my own gaps, where maybe I'm not as disciplined with time as I should be because I'm thinking, okay, can I maximize? Can I do this in 10 minutes? But I know I can't do it in 10 minutes. It's going to take me 20 minutes, right? But like, that can change. And then I have to create that new image. But again, I think that image gets a little bit faded if we don't constantly, nurture it. And whatnot. So it's so many areas in life, which I don't want to complicate it. I don't want, because if you try to tackle everything all at once, then you just get flustered and you get, stressed. It's like, okay, what can I do? Right? Like each day for discipline, okay, I'm going to I'm going to do 10 minutes of walking a day. I'm going to do that for like 2 weeks. I don't care about anything else. And that's kind of like how I start with like my clients too. Like, especially if someone has never played sports, they don't really know how their body works. They don't know how to move their body. Let's not even talk about nutrition. Let's just train 1 day per week.
Start small.
Start small, because you're going to collapse if you focus on everything, And I feel like a lot of times that happens, especially here. It's like, okay, I'm going to go as hard as I can for 2 months. And then they crash for 4. It's like, no, just build this. Okay, got that, and build that. Got that, build that, got that.
I think they say that about habits, that you choose a habit and then you half it and then you half it further. That's the one that you're going to stick to.
Okay.
So if it's like, I'm going to do it every day, no, half it. Maybe you're going to do it 3 days out of the week, and even half it further, maybe 2.5 days or one day. That's the one.
Okay, chunk it down.
Yeah,
right,
like break it down. Because people do go big and then they fail because they can't keep it up.
True. Yeah. I 100%. That's 100%. Yeah. So like, for example, say like the walking. You can say, okay, I'm going to do 20 minutes, right? Even though you're like, yeah, I'm determined and I'm committed. All right, let's just do 10 minutes. Because on your worst day, you'll be able to do 10 minutes, right? It's like, okay, if I did max push-ups, I know even if I didn't sleep at all that night, okay, I can get a minimum of X amount of reps, right? That's bare minimum, I have confidence in that, right? So
point to show up, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about just show up, because eventually it has to expand upon that, right? But again, don't overwhelm yourself. Like, just because you'll feel better. You'll feel better when you're like, okay, I take that off, right? I mean, think about it. Like, why do people still have like to-do lists or checklists? It's like, well, obviously you need to get it done, because then if you don't get it done, who knows what'll happen. But it's kind of like encouraging that, okay, got that, boom, take it off.
It feels good.
Yeah, it feels good, right? So like, but if you look at everything and I have to check off everything at the same time, most likely you're not going to do it, So yeah, it could be with the training, it could be with nutrition. Okay, if nutrition is garbage, I don't care. Forget about everything else. Just eat one fruit every single day. Make the list of every fruits that you love, just one fruit. I don't care if it's an apple every single day. Just do that for 7 days, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
So Scott, I want to ask you, as somebody who works with you, trains with you regularly, people look at you and they see the physique, they'll see the reels on Instagram, and I think they assume that it comes easy to you. Mm-hmm. What is it that they're not seeing?
Yeah, now we're going deep, huh? I mean, look, everyone has their own struggles, right? And it's not a pity party, but everyone has their own struggles. We never know, right? So like, I know it's hard sometimes, but it's very important to be like, all right, you know what? I don't know what they're going through, right? So, because like, for example, and we'll get into the deep stuff in a second, but like, say if I'm working with a client and just like, no, that day they're just like have an attitude, or just like, meh. Like, it's just like, it's not good. I mean, when I'm getting the vibe, I can even just feel it. Nowadays, being in the industry for over a decade, I can just feel it. I'm like, all right, something's off. But it doesn't mean it's up against me. So then, maybe I ask like, everything okay? You sleep all right? Hydrate? Oh yeah. My kids were keeping me up all night. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, let's, we'll just work with it today. No big deal. We're not going to go for PRs. So, I mean, that's on a smaller scale, right? On a bigger scale, obviously, it could be anything that's going on with their life physically, maybe family members, whatever. So I know where we're going with this one. So like, for me, okay, so at like, obviously 16, right? I have like my periods, right? 16, I got hit with, the CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. 21, got locked up. And then at 2015 and 2016, I got hit hard. Like basically physically, my body just was failing me, I started feeling it like my goal, okay, CrossFit regionals, then CrossFit games. And then again, it was just like, I just got to keep outworking. But I wasn't really understanding what was going on underneath the hood. And so like, I had this opportunity in 2016 to come here because I was always hungry to get more work. Okay, I see these people, they're only really doing it as a semi-career. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Like training-wise, knowledge-wise, I want to reach more people. So in May 2016, I moved to UAE. Now, prior to that, I was having some weird issues with my SI joint. They were like, come on, and then I'll be like limping for like 2 weeks, and then I'll be good for 6. And then they came again, and I'll be fine. It's like, what's going on? And the second time it happened, it was a little bit longer. So it was like, the physio was like, well, I don't know what's going on. But at the time, I was like, whatever. I'll do the physio, and then I'll recover. And then literally, like, I get here in the UAE, and they're looking at me like, man, this guy is like lifting a house. He's knowledgeable about the industry. I love his passion. And then like 2 months into it, I get that pain again in my hip. And I was like, man, thinking to myself, all right. Stay positive, keep it cool, relax. You know the deal. We had this happen two times already, so just rest, relax. And then it stayed with me. I was like, this pain won't go away in my hip. And actually, if I push a little bit, it will get worse. So I'm like, I keep resting. And then December, I remember like around, Costa December, again, it was always at a low level pain for some time, and it would go into spikes. And then literally in like November and December, it hit me hard again to the point where like, I kid you not, I mean, I wouldn't like wish this type of pain on anyone, even my enemies, where I literally, move like this, from my bed, and I'm like just throbbing in pain from, my hips all the way down to my feet. And I'm thinking like, what is going on? Like, I'm like, so, I had to like take off work for several weeks. Like going back into work after like a couple of weeks, like with some crutches and whatnot. And, and again, I have this identity that, okay, I'm this athlete, and I just like, I show people like, that you can excel so much, through the physical body. So, and then that's kind of like pulled away. I'm like, oh, man, what's going on? So then going into 2017, okay, I'm feeling a little better. I'm like, okay, maybe this went away. I still don't know what it is. Maybe this went away. And then I qualify for an elite competition in France. I go to France, and I told Susan, my wife at the time, like, I don't know, like I was feeling it before going on a flight, and we're walking around. I'm like, it's not getting any better, it's getting worse. And she's like, just show up, see what you can do. And I remember like in the warm up, I'm like trying to snatch, 60 kilos, like with one leg. Meanwhile, like my PR is, I don't know, in kilos, like 130 kilos. And I'm like, I can't even barely, move the weight. And I was like, this is not good. So I had to pull out of the competition. And then for the remaining of like 4 days of my trip, I think I had 4 days remaining of that trip, I was just bedridden. I couldn't move. I was so hurt. Like it was just so much pain, shooting pain, nerve pain, every type of pain. And I was just like, all right, I'm done. Trying to compete. Which it hurt a lot, because it's like, this is part of my identity. So then obviously I found out afterwards that, okay, this is actually ankylosing spondylitis. So then I was like, all right, what is this? And the rheumatologist kind of scared me. She was like, oh, you need to be on medication. Otherwise you're going to be like, your spine is going to be like a rod. You're not going to be able to walk again. And so I was like, well, anyone that's like pushing that hard, I'm like, I don't know about this. So I was like, I take the diagnosis, but now I know what it is. But I'm like, I'm not going to immediately go to the medication right off the bat. Let me figure this out. Let me go back. Okay, nutrition, sleep, training. Okay, what do I have to do? And then it became something specific for me. But look, every hardship, there's a silver lining, right?
What's the silver lining?
Well, I mean, because like if someone has back issues or if someone has any type of issue, even if it's autoimmune or it's any type of issue, I just feel that I can understand them a little bit better and I have a little more remorse, and it does make me more curious as well. It's like, okay, let me dive into this, illness that I haven't heard of or whatnot and get more knowledgeable about it. But it's more relatable, right? Because then it's no longer like, oh, this guy just like, yeah, he's got the genes to be fit and stuff like that, whatever. But it's like, hey, I'm dealing with this, and again, no pity party, but, just trying to be relatable, that's all.
So it's an autoimmune condition, right?
Correct.
So what does it look like day in, day out? Like how does it actually impact what you do? Because you have built your life around movement.
Yeah.
So to have something that does have you sometimes bedridden or in pain, how do you navigate that?
Well, it's, the immune system and nervous system, they're beasts. So like, a lot of times you're not going to push it. You're not going to force it, be like, hey, no, we need to do this. It's like it's being very in tune with your body. And obviously it's a challenge for me a lot of times because I'm like, okay, I want to go. Like I got the energy. I want to push. Let's go. Whether it's work or working out, but I got to really be, okay, today is not a day. And it could be even like, all right, today I really need to try to stay calm because I need to tell my nervous system it's okay, right? You don't need to be releasing all these pro-inflammatory cytokines to the area because nothing's wrong. Like just relax. So that is a big challenge again, because being a coach, being high energy, I thrive off that, right? But it's like, can I have that energy? But at the same time, when I, especially in my own alone time, it's like, okay, I need to tone it down. I need to tell my nervous system to relax. That's where obviously like sleep is a big part to, breath work, sleep, to again, tell my system to like, okay, let's activate the parasympathetic nervous system more, to relax and digest, to again, reduce the inflammation. In the mornings, I'm always stiff and I gotta move. Don't think about it too much, like, cause I'm like, all right, that's all right. It's gonna be like this day, this type of day, and try not to get into my head. Trying to be like, again, movements, walk my dogs first thing in the morning, get some sunlight, right? All these things. Nutrition is non-negotiable, right? Trying to be on an anti-inflammatory. I don't like diet, but nutrition protocol, because that's the big thing. So I always look at it from a lens of like, all right, what am I, if I'm feeling more pain than usual on one day, all right, what do I need to do? What am I missing? Was it because of this that I did yesterday or was it not? Or I might have done everything perfect yesterday, but there's always a delay effect, right? It's not like, okay, I eat this food and then I feel like crap. It's always a delay, right? So, it's really just a whole learning process, going back into, diving back into, or going back to the drawing board and be like, okay, what am I missing? What can I do? Okay, I can add this. I'm going to do red light therapy 30 minutes a day. I'm going to do this. It's a lot. And at the same time, you don't want to overwhelm yourself because then you're just actually doing yourself a disservice.
So I'm hearing this thinking like you have an autoimmune disease, so you have to think about what did I do? How did I push myself too far, which led to me feeling how I feel today, which has resulted in you being really in tuned to your body. Yeah. Whereas I feel for most people, many who don't even have any kind of conditions, they are completely oblivious to why they feel the way they do. They wouldn't be making connections such as maybe it was the amount of caffeine I had the day before. Maybe it was that late night. Maybe it's the fact that I don't reach deep sleep. I feel many people live their lives completely unaware. And I think this disconnect is problematic because it leads to poorer health in the long term.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I'm too consumed with, okay, do I have this dialed in, do I have that dialed in, then I'm just going to overwhelm myself, right? And then that's the time where it'd be nice to feel like, many where it's like, all right, I'm just not even going to really have any focus on, any situation going on with my body and whatnot. But yeah, for people that don't have autoimmune disease and people, I guess you can say the majority, I think it's positive to be a little bit more in tune, be a little bit more conscious. There's nothing wrong with being more conscious, right? If you're more conscious, you can make decisions better and you can adjust things, in your life. So,
yeah, for me, it's cortisol. I'm so
cortisol,
conscious of
which is not always that bad, You want cortisol to peak in the morning. So
I'm like, Scott, don't stress me out. I don't like cortisol.
Yeah.
I don't like how it makes me feel. But everyone has their thing.
Yeah, 100%.
In the wrong times, it impacts me, especially with sleep. And,
yes. Yeah. And look, if we just had it all dialed in and we had everything figured out, I mean, I think life would be somewhat boring. I guess it's cool to, try to always fix something or try to always adjust something in your life. It's never ending. Because if you just think, okay, I got it all dialed in, guess what? You're going to start fading. You're going to start drifting, and then you lose focus, and then you're like, oh, what happened?
Makes sense.
Back to square one.
So tell me, what would you say to someone who says, I work out often, I don't eat cake, and yet I don't see any results? What am I missing?
Working out every day.
Working out regularly and doesn't eat much sugar.
Well, look, you got to really understand what you're doing it for. If you're going in there and you're training every day because you love training, you love moving your body, okay, hats off to you. But the tricky part is when you really, trying to make that relationship between, okay, I'm training my butt off, I'm training every day, and I'm not losing weight, right? Then, okay, if that is a factor, right, then you got to look at other things, right? Everything that we're talking about, like nutrition and sleep and things like that, right? Because it's not all about training, right? I probably train the least amount now, nowadays than in years past, and able to maintain some decent muscle mass is because I have everything else dialed in, So when you're training, you're just breaking down the muscle, right? Again, it's good for overall health, right? You want to, release the lymphatic, it's a lymphatic drainage, and you want to, strengthen your bones, and you just love the feeling of working out. That's fine. But again, when you have a specific goal, like, okay, I need to lose 10 kilos, and you're expecting just because I work out and okay, I don't eat cake, then I'm going to lose, right? There's a lot more factors that go into it that you have to look into it. You could probably I would probably even suggest to take off some time from the training, right? In terms of if you're training 5 days a week, okay, dial back to 4, because maybe you're doing too much, right? Now we have to look at that, okay, how is your intensity? How is your volume within that session? Because you could be like, yeah, I'm training every single day, and I do a set, and I'm like this on my phone for 5 minutes when I should be resting for 45 seconds. So that has a lot to say.
Interesting that you say that, because as soon as you think of health and fitness, you think, I need to go to the gym. That's the number one thing. I'm not losing weight, or my body is changing shape. I need to go to the gym. That's number one. And you're saying you need to look at everything else first.
Well, look, I look at everything as a percentage. You can't have only this and not that. Everything, one thing is is not the magic pill. Right. And that's why I can't stand sometimes in social media, yeah, if you do this, you take this one supplement, or you do this type of exercise, you're going to be 8-packed, ripped, tan, ready to go. So it doesn't work like that. Right. So it's okay, well, maybe 15% is from the gym, 15% is from sleep, 15% is what you eat, 15% is stress management, 5% is from supplements, 5% is from sunlight. There's so many factors. And I don't say that to overwhelm people, but I also say that to, then you can, pull back the curtain and be okay, again, what am I missing, right? I got the training 15%, but that's only 15%, maybe 20%, right? What happens with the other 80%? Are you sleeping 5 hours? You're stressed out of your mind. You're drinking 1 liter of water every day. These things. And Okay, if you got everything dialed in, we just got to dial it in a little more, right? It's like, oh, I'm not eating cake and I'm eating well, I'm eating this and then, but okay. All right, so then now, that's great. Now we're on to the second level.
But people don't know that. People don't know that. I feel like everything you just shared with me right now, it's like you wouldn't think, and I need to think about the sleep, and I need to think about the stress, and I need to think about the supplements. It's like we know of just go to the gym and don't eat too much rubbish.
Well, okay, one, I think it's easier just to simplify things in our minds. Right? If I just compartmentalize it to like, okay, I need to train and then I'll get fit. Okay, fine. And the problem too is also we see people on social media like, oh man, that person looks amazing. Like, yeah, but we don't know what goes on behind doors, right? You know, maybe they're doing everything else right. Maybe they have great genetics to help them, right? But even if you have the worst genetics in the world, it doesn't give you an excuse, you know? Like you still got to focus on you, focus on what you need to take care of. So even myself, I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I need to dial this in a little more. I need to dial in that more, you know? And I've been working out for, you know, a decade plus. So it's like, if I'm not giving myself excuses, you know, don't give yourself excuses and give yourself a scapegoat, you know?
So you mentioned social media, and I think that's part of the issue here, that there's so much information out there, strength training and creatine and protein. But I feel like if you was to strip it all away and just choose one or two things that somebody should just focus on, what should they be focusing on?
Honestly, I think it will go back to, it sounds like a broken record, but it will go back to the foundation. Like before you get into the supplement game, again, are you checking off 7 hours of sleep? Are you checking off, you know, are you having protein with veggies and fruits with every single meal, you know, and not eating too much? You're not eating 5 meals, 6 meals a day, right? Are you getting sunlight and you're doing all these other things, you know? And then you can fill in the blanks like, okay, supplementation, all right, vitamin D with K2, cool, you know, pretty standard. Like, or if you want to do multivitamin, cool, pretty standard. But, you know, creatine is great. And I know there's a lot more information on it. And especially, it's like one of the most researched supplement there is. But at the end of the day, that's not going to make you Superman, a superwoman, right? So you still gotta, you know, because, and again, people always look at that, right? Oh, what if I take this? What if I do that? Like, all right, you know, boss man, did you do X, Y, and Z? No? Okay, until you do X, Y, and Z, I don't want you to be looking over there. You need to focus on this. And to be honest with you, when you do focus on this, you realize, oh, okay, again, that's only a small percentage, maybe 2% to 5%, you know? And again, I mean, if you have vitamin D deficient, of course, deficiency, of course, get it on that. If B12, your body is not able to assimilate that through food, okay, cool, get those injections. But, you know, those are small cases and whatnot, you know?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So Scott, in my community, especially over 40, people see physical decline as a inevitable part of aging. Like this is what happens. You're 40 now. Things are supposed to hurt. You're supposed to slow down. It's not supposed to be easy anymore. And I think you talk a lot about maximum strength and that how most people haven't reached their maximum strength. Right. Talk me through that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, take this analogy, right? If you have professional strongman athletes, right, and professional, you know, powerlifters, like these are the cream of the crop, like the elite of the elite, the 1% of the 1%. If they are hitting personal records well into their 40s, right, then why can't you? You know, because if you think about it, if they would basically hit maximum strength or close to it, decade after decade, and these guys have probably been training well over 2 decades, 25 years, and they're still hitting personal records in their 40s, right? Now, the average person, let's say, because they usually say, okay, you know, after 30, it's like, all right, everything kind of goes off the cliff. It's not like that, right? So the average person, say at age 30, they're only tapping into 25% of their maximum strength, right? So it makes sense that even into their 40s and 50s, they are going to hit personal records, right? Because they only tapped into 25% of their max. When your testosterone level is supposed to be peaked, all the growth hormone, all these things are like at the highest level, bone density, all that. And again, they're only 25%. So it goes to show that, again, don't be so caught up in, I didn't even train in my 20s and 30s, so I guess I won't be strong, If anything, you have more of an advantage. If you start training at 30, you start training at 40, you're a clean slate. You're basically at like zero, right? And due to the fact that strength, especially getting to like your maximum strength, your 1 rep max in a certain lift, takes a long, long time. And that's another factor. That's why it's like you get into your 40s and 50s and you're hitting personal records, right? I have a client who's pretty much 60, who's doing more pull-ups, more push-ups, all these different things than he's ever done in his life. And he's almost 60. And again, people think, okay, you hit 30, okay, testosterone drops, bone density drops, but your body is a beautiful thing. And, when you train and when you put it to, how can I say, push it to a certain extent, then it will adapt. So.
I think there's something really interesting about after 40, because I think that's where you get to the stage where you can no longer rely on youth and just natural energy and good genetics. Whatever you've been doing kind of catches up with you. Like you can get away with a lot in your 20s and 30s, the late nights and the sugar use, but you can see it after 40, those who do and those who don't.
True. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but yeah, you see, metabolism is not as high as it once was. Your digestion is not where it once was. So in a way, again, I'm sorry to say, but you now have to tighten up even more. You can't get away with eating the same foods. You can't get away with this, sleeping the 5 hours that you once did. All these things, like they have to be even more dialed in. And again, I don't know. I don't look at it as a crutch. Like, oh man, well, I have to do all this. Like, well, I mean, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? I mean, that's part of aging, right? Like you're, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it, and I'm not the person to speak so much about it. But like, stem cells is one of the things where it's like, your cells are not regenerating as fast as they once were, and that's part of the aging process. So that's part of the recovery. That's why you can't train 5 days a week and, feel amazing for the 6th day. Maybe you had to dial it back to 4 days and, be a little more strategic and all these different things.
So after 40, technically, you should be ramping it up. Is that what you mean by maximum strength?
Ramping it up, I don't know if I would say ramping it up, but there's room for improvement, especially if you're a clean slate and you haven't trained before. But also, again, like maybe you tighten up all the other areas which assist you, right? If you're giving your body enough energy, enough nutrients, right, to recover, to basically, what can I say? Basically, to recover from the broken down muscles from the training, then you'll be able to perform at a higher level, right? So, again, it's about understanding your body, because maybe you can recover faster than me, right? I don't know. But I'm not going to compare myself to you and your recovery. I'm going to be in tune with my recovery, and I'm going to dial everything in, and I'm going to make sure that, okay, I do have some strength training in there, because I don't want to get osteopenia one day, osteoporosis, right? I want to make sure that my bones are strong. So, and that's one of the critical factors as you age. You want to make sure that your bone density is high. And that's only really from stressing the joints, right? And obviously eating right and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
makes sense.
Yeah.
So Scott, as you know, we're living in really heavy times right now. I get anxious every single time my phone goes off with the alarms. But that's a personality thing, I think. Not everyone responds the same way. That's just me.
Okay.
But I've noticed that when things get hard, health and fitness seems to be the first thing people drop. What would you say to that?
Motion equals emotion. Or you can say motion drives emotion, right? And another way of saying it is movement is medicine. When you kind of analyze that, you're like, oh, okay, there's some truth to that. I mean, I guarantee, and I'm not gonna have you do it, but if you drop down and you did 30 burpees right now, your mind's gonna be clear, right? And there's obviously a boatload of science behind that to back that up, right? And I'm not gonna get into that. I'll let the neuroscientists talk about that. But it's actually, again, it's a situation. Okay, I'm feeling this way. I actually need to turn it up. I need to do the opposite. So instead of like, okay, I'm just gonna like disregard my body and disregard my movement. No, it's actually, you need to move, right? Because if you're normally in a certain mindset or mind state, and you're feeling the stress, you're like, it's weighing you down and it's changing your personality over some time, and that's not what you want your identity to shift over to. Okay, I need to do something. I need to get back into who I am. And a lot of that has to do with movement, right? You see it all the time. I tell you what, people come to me because they want to lose fat. They want, I want to lose fat, coach. I want to lose fat. I want to, okay, why do you want to do it? Blah, blah, blah. Cool. Guarantee, let's continue to train. After 3 or 4 months, you'll tell me the biggest benefit from training is your mental health, right? And I know that's a buzzword, but I'm telling you, like, that is humongous. You get to a point where you're like, okay, you feel it in your body, like, I need to move, right? So like, this, before I came here, I did some push-ups because I was like, all right, I need to get focused. I need to get the blood flowing. It's important. And I know after repetition, every single time that I've done that in the past, it has benefited me. So, and that's something that you want to put into practice. Because once, it's easy for me to tell you, but you need to do it and then be, oh, okay, yeah, I feel better. Like, even if it's just for a good 30 minutes, okay, I feel clearer. All right, then you'll come back to that every single time. So yeah, don't stop moving.
I think my husband Shabazz is an example of that. He is miserable when he doesn't work out. He is really...
Shout out to Shabazz.
Shout out, but he's very difficult to be around if he hasn't worked out for a few days. So he definitely needs it for his mental health. And it makes sense. It makes sense. It gets you out of your head.
Yes.
Whereas where most of us get stuck.
And I'll tell you what though. See, this is where people get stuck too. Like, well, I don't have an hour to train in the gym. You don't need an hour, right? There are some days where, like, okay, again, I'm not perfect. There are days that I don't sleep well. And it's like, all right, in my head, I'm like, okay, tonight I need to try to do something different to make sure I sleep well, right? But that day may not be a day that I have time to go to the gym and work out. But maybe I don't need that. And I tell myself, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do push-ups here and there or squats here and there. And just, again, 1 minute every few hours makes a huge difference. And because, again, that's where people get stuck. Well, I don't have the time. Like, you tell me, okay, I'll work out to feel like I got 5 kids and I work full-time job and this and that. Like, I don't got time. Okay, can you do 2 minutes? Can you do 5 minutes? And just wake yourself up. And then you build upon that. And again, on the days, you might have a good routine. I train 4 days a week, whatever. On the day they're like, okay, I was going to train, but I'm too busy. All right, do something small to still activate your brain.
Totally. So Scott, you do a lot of community work as well. You do things on the weekend. You've been running the run club for a long time as well.
Right.
Tell me, what does working out in a group, in a communal setting do that you can't achieve by yourself?
That camaraderie, right? That feeling of like, you have similar goals to me, or maybe we don't have exactly the same goals, but I know you're kind of on a similar wavelength, because you wouldn't be at the run club with me, right? Or you wouldn't be going to this activity if you didn't have somewhat the same similar frequency. The universe is talking. And I mean, think about it. Why do we have friends? It's because there's something that's in common, right? And it's one of the reasons also why we fall out of friendships, because you no longer have anything that's in common. So when you're with a group, you automatically feel that. You feel that aroma. You feel that environment. So it's like, oh man, that's so cool. You got 10, 20 people, kind of like-minded people, and then you can vibe off that. And again, you combine the physical training with, people that are encouraging, right? That's another thing. Like you might have a crappy day. Can't tell you how many times people have a crappy day and then they go and they train with a community and they're like, oh man, I feel so much better. Because it could be also something that one person says, or like, hey, yeah, I had a crappy night too, or, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, all right, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. But if you get sucked into like, okay, me, and you're never branching out to communities, then yeah, you can get stuck and it's going to be a hard hole to get out of.
It's also accountability, right? If you know that people are going to be asking, well, not judging, but asking why you didn't turn up, where were you? Exactly. Were you sleeping and eating cake?
I mean, if it's too harsh, you're like, well, maybe I don't want to be in this community. No, accountability is huge. And I don't mean to cut you off if I did, but, I think of this like, think about a professional athlete again. Every sport, do they have a coach? They have a coach, right?
They do.
Now, why? Well, one side, they probably know what they're doing. I can imagine they know what they're doing. But they need that accountability. They need someone to be like in their corner and be like, hey, I need you to get your mind right. I need you to focus. Because also, obviously on that level, all they need to be focusing on, or what they should be focusing on, is execution, right? They don't need to be thinking about the planning. They don't need to be thinking about like, all these other factors. They just need to execute. Okay, this is what we're going to, and as long as you have my trust, the rapport is there, then I'm going to bat for you. So it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. I need you to focus. I need you to believe what I'm saying is going to lead us to this result. And we're talking about professional level, right? Michael Jordan had a coach, right? But he was humble enough to be like, yes, I need to listen. I have my own opinion, but I need to listen. And so when we're talking about the average person, 10x that, right? You got way more stress, way more to-do lists, all these different things, responsibilities that you don't need to be thinking, okay, what do I need to train? How what's the intensity? When do we deload? Like all these different things in terms of the training, it's basically saying, okay, here, can you just tell me what to do and I'll execute it. Now, obviously there's a level of responsibility because at the end of the day, you're the one moving your body. You're the one doing all the other things, but it's humongous too. Like if I'm going to be there, I'm going to be like, hey, we got an appointment at 6 p.m. You confirm and I'm going to be there. It's like, oh man, shit, I got to be there, and same thing is like, if I'm going to check in with you on a weekly basis, like, and this is not to, hop on the fact that you didn't do the X, Y, and Z. I'm not here to scold you or be your parent. I'm here to help you. And again, as long as you have that understanding, I think then you can go a long way because it's like, okay, this is something important,
It's what I always say whenever I go to the gym with Shabazz and I train with you, that the best thing about being here is that I don't have to use my brain. Tell me what to do and I will do it. I'm not doing any maths. I'm not doing any counting. That's all on you. That's your job. And it takes a load off my mind. I just have to show up and be the best that I can be. But I'm not calculating. I'm not, doing the maths. And I enjoy that personally because I feel there's so much in life as there is. If there's one thing I can outsource to someone else, that makes such a difference.
And again, I mean, we talk about like the mental aspect, like training is such a stress release that's like, you don't need to now put extra things on your plate, right? And also a lot of times if you make up your own plan, there's going to be a lot of times where you're like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And it might not be that like, you might have great energy, but you just do what you like to do or you just doing things because whatever, I guess I'll just do this.
Yeah, me and Shabazz say that the things that we do with you, we would not do by ourselves. Or we would give up halfway through. This is just too hard. Right. What is this? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, as long as you know it's going to benefit you, right? That temporary discomfort is nothing in comparison to, what the benefits you get. And this is why, I get a little touchy when I hear this, when I hear people complain about a workout, because I'm like, especially now, I'm super grateful if I can train. I'm like, I don't, I don't care if I have to do 500 burpees. I'm grateful. I got my legs. It gets deep, but anyhow, so that's why I'm like, what are you complaining about? This is life stressors are so much bigger than just working out. Like, don't be ridiculous.
Because it's a privilege. That's what you
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Every time, I still remember this vividly. Every time that I was running, every single mile, I would think about Diz, my buddy who passed away from cystic fibrosis. And if you know about cystic fibrosis, you get a lot of chest infections, you get a lot of mucus, right? And towards the end of his life, we would be with him, and he would have to stroll along with his oxygen tank and stuff. I laughed because he was always a character. But I would always think, like, if he can fight for another breath, I can fight for another mile. I can fight for another rep. So when you, like, again, you don't have to get that deep, but, like, put it into context, people,
I think because you can personally relate to what it's like to have energy and what it's like to be bedridden, what it's like to be pain-free, and what it's like to be painless, that you can appreciate when you are moving.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think you really have that value for that workout, for that movement, more than somebody who hasn't tasted the other side.
So I don't think that you necessarily need to go through something like that. I mean, case in point, when I was 23, going for the half marathons and thinking about this, my lungs were fine, like my physical body was fine, but I thought about that, and I visualized it so deeply and put some emotion behind it that, I got into it. I was like, don't slow down. Are you kidding me? Like, it's kind of like telling myself, like, are you serious right now? Like, you gonna, I'll keep it PG, but you gonna wuss out right now? Like, nah, bro, come on. So again, I don't think you need to necessarily go through so much of a hardship, but it definitely helps, I guess you could say.
Appreciation builds.
Yeah, always come back to gratitude.
So tell me about the Hype Club and why is it important to you?
So what is the Hype Club?
Yeah, tell me.
Well, the Hype Club is a facility that we're currently building. It combines performance and recovery. And the reason why we want to combine performance and recovery is because it's not all about performance and it's not all about recovery. You need that blend. And we felt that, the industry is pretty fragmented. Like, if you want to do contrast therapy, which is cold plunge and sauna, and that's part of the recovery process, or yoga and Pilates, you have to go to a certain place. You have to go here or you have to go there, whatnot. If you want to train, you go here. And so we wanted to be the hub, right, for that. So that, like, you don't have to worry about anything else. It's like, all right, my training and my recovery is here, And also, you got to think about how important both are, because yogis think, okay, or I can't speak for every yogi, but some people that do only yoga and Pilates think, all right, this is all I need. Some people that train high rocks, oh, that's all I need. But you need that blend. Again, going back to a professional athlete, why do you think that professional athletes now have careers of 20 years, right, in physical sports? Now it's a lot more common. Why? Because there's so much more emphasis on the recovery side, right? I think there was something like LeBron James spends like $1 million a year on just recovery. I don't know how you calculate that, but supposedly that it is. And I believe that, because he's going into his like 23rd year of playing basketball, and that's a lot of wear and tear in the joints. And you wouldn't have that in the 1980s, because the knowledge about recovery and the focus on recovery, not there. Smoking cigarettes, doing all this and while training. Yeah, we'll get to that. So I think, that's what we want to kind of create, and we're going to continue to create that vision of, like, you need the blend. And from my own personal experience, where I can no longer go hard, I need to listen to my body. I need to be like, okay, I like yoga. I need to do yoga every once in a while. I need to do the sauna and plunge. And then when I'm feeling a little more, I'm feeling a little bit better, joints feeling a little bit better. Okay, let's hit the weights more, So that's, so we're excited about that. We're going to be opening, inshallah, pretty soon.
Nice. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to knowledge, because when I'm thinking about rest and recovery, other than a stretch pre-workout and post-workout, I don't know what I should be doing for recovery. And I don't know that it's equally or if not more important than the actual performance.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that there's something out there that promotes this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's our job to get that message across, to be like, you know, and to your point, the accountability and you not having to think about it. It's like, okay, you know, I mean, you know, this is your program. So, you know, you're going to train in the group for, you know, 2 or 3 days. You're going to do one personal training session to work on some, you know, like insufficiencies and, you know, balancing issues. And then we're going to do the yoga Pilates one day, you know, basically giving you the program, be like, here, this is what you need based upon our assessment and based upon what you're telling me your goals are.
I like that. You're taking the thinking out of it again.
That's my job. Don't think. Just hire me. Oh, man. I had to throw that promotion there.
I'm going to end by asking you, Scott, for somebody who says, I don't have any time, or I'll start later, or I'll start once life calms down, or I'll start after the war. What do you have to say to someone like that?
It all has to do with priorities and focus, right? And again, don't compare yourself with anyone else, because your priorities, your responsibilities, your focus is different. But that can change over time, right? You can not do anything for your 30s and then be like, you know, I need to do something about myself, right? You still had the same 24 hours, but it's different. And again, don't compare it, because maybe you have to work 12 hours a day and then you have to feed the kids and stuff like that. And then, you know, you're only able to get 6 hours of sleep. You're going to have to figure something out to where it's like, okay, well, I can't do an hour. I can't do 30 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes 3 days a week. And sometimes, like, you know, it might be 3 days in a row because you see, you got to be honest with yourself. It's like, okay, I'm definitely not going to be able to train Monday through Thursday. I'm way too busy. Okay, but you know, Friday, I'll have to wake up 20 minutes earlier. Okay, I can do Friday, and then I can do Sunday. And you start small. And then again, you just adjust from there. So
that's really useful, Scott. So thank you, Scott.
My pleasure.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I think for me, my main takeaway would be that when life does get heavy and movement tends to be the first thing people drop, it's what we need to,
absolutely,
I think, cope, to heal, and also just to make sense of what's going on out there. And having someone in your corner holding you accountable makes such a difference. And I'm just so grateful that I have you and my husband making sure I show up regularly, a few times a week. And we have been for 3 years now. So I'm very proud of that.
We've been going strong. We've been going strong, and, you know, continue to grow throughout the years. So we're
very grateful for you for that.
Thank you. I'm super grateful as well.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.